Hello,
Hi.
everyone, and welcome to the Corporate Escapists TV show. I'm really excited to have a really special guest with me, David, here today, all the way you're in Costa Rica. So beautiful, very jealous. And we're going to have a really great, interesting conversation about leaving the corporate world. So this is all about inspiring and empowering people to go from their corporate mess to their empowered best. So welcome, David. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it's nighttime over there and it's beautiful early start to the day here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity and being here. What a great conversation we're going to be able to have. And thank you for putting this out there.
Oh, my
So,
pleasure.
yeah, right. It's really fun to connect with you and be live on Zoom. We're a full international world, right? I mean, it's an increasingly small place because of the technology. You can
Absolutely.
literally live anywhere, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So look, I'll hand it over to you just to sort of give everyone a quick introduction about yourself and, really about sort of the big change that you left, leaving corporate America to where you are right now.
Great. Thanks, Christine. So I'm David Vletas, and you know, I've jumped off the edge responsibly. I bailed out of corporate America. I'm a scientist for over 36 years in the energy sector, a geologist and a minor in petroleum engineering. And I love doing exploration in the oil and gas sector for many years. And I became a coach about 10 years after I was working in the energy sector. So I've been doing that over 25 years as well. And I just love working with multidisciplinary teams and putting in what's missing. Logistically, I had an expertise, kind of my superpower, and communication and relationships, and getting. There would be an attorney and a geologist and a geophysicist and an accountant and an engineer and some support staff, and we would be responsible for drilling these projects for either developmental or exploration plays. And so I really loved doing all of that. And so I really got to hone my coaching skills. So I've been a coach for over 25 years. But about 10 years ago, I started having this internal conversation that just wasn't working for me anymore about being in the energy space and all the pollution and that whole problem solution cycle, and watching the renewables take hold, and just I wanted to change. It just wasn't what I signed up for originally. And I also was missing living at the beach. And I went to Costa Rica about 18 years ago on a vacation, and I fell in love with the country and the people. And at that point, my first day in the country, I knew I was going to live there. So I went back 3 times over 18 months and traveled all over the country. And I found the place where I now live, Nosara, Costa Rica. It's in the Guanacaste in the northwest, right on the Pacific Ocean. And the jungle and the mountains just come right to the beach, and it's
So
lush and
jealous.
beautiful. It's absolutely amazing. Well, I want to come to Australia. I haven't been. It's on my list. It's been calling to me. So one day soon. Well, maybe we'll trade. Maybe you'll come here and I'll go there.
Absolutely.
And but it's it's an increasingly small world. You really can live anywhere now. So I decided that I was done, and I was gonna jump off the edge responsibly. I wrote a book, and it was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And it was kind of the beginning of me putting together all these different modalities from science to coaching, and to my own personal life by design experiences. And I just knew there was this whole conversation you hear people talking about, this awakening, and giving yourself permission to, and having to integrate things, because there's a lot of good work out there for nutrition and how to change careers or location, and how to build your relationships and elevate things. But there wasn't anyone doing something that was fully integrated. And so when I was planning my escape from the corporate world, it was really to leave the stress, and that internal voice. I had to get rid of it. And so I had a plan on how to make all that happen. And the first thing was really just honoring what I love the most, which was being at the beach and surfing. I've been surfing for over 50 years. I grew up in Southern California. And so I was like, okay, all that matters is live where you want and do what is the most fun thing that you enjoy the most. And so I found that in Costa Rica. And then I decided to kind of reinvent myself in a career sense around that, my well-being be the priority. So that I was going to cut the chaos of corporate America out and that stress and the overwhelm and anxiety of it all. I was in a very dangerous, kind of a dirty, risky profession. And so anyway, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I started having problems. I was putting on weight, and I started having chest pains because of being in the corporate trap. Mm. And so I gave myself permission to have the life I really love, the one that I really want. And then I found a way now to help people duplicate that for themselves. And this, I call it the ready to process, where you rejuvenate body, mind, and soul, discover your optimal aptitude, ability, and skill set. And then you design a practical plan to implement with the required structure, accountability, and coaching to make it all happen, to make it real. And so I kind of was my own guinea pig. And I was like, okay, dude, you're stressed out, you're getting sick, you have heart pain, just, it's like, it's now or never, man. So now I'm super healthy. I mean, I think that, nutrition, our diet, that part is the hardest part. But once you get that body part with the rest and the exercise, the nutrition and diet and the energy adjusted, everything else just opens up and is so much more available. And then
I love it that how you really have such a holistic approach to it. And I find that a lot of times, like as coaches, it's all come obviously from our personal experience, and that, we are our only guinea pigs. So, I mean, I'm myself, it's all come from my personal experience as well. And that's how I know that I've done the work, and to where I was before, 4 years ago to where I am now, it's proof in the pudding really, because we've done the work. But the holistic approach is, I started my journey with, obviously just making, diet changes and, health and exercise. But the mindset stuff, when that comes into play, I think that's just so powerful, because when you're in corporate, you're sort of disattached or disassociated from all of that sort of stuff as well. So that when you can step out and you can allow the new mindset, the new way of thinking to retrain your brain and not be so constant running, that it's okay just to stop and be present in the moment. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, is that it's okay just to sort of sit and breathe for a moment, because I don't always have to think about what's coming up next, or, plan for this meeting and then plan for everything else, that we're living now in the moment.
I love that. Yeah, so right on. The whole it is all about the mindset. So when you build this physical base, the mindset conversation, being a coach and being trained in that area, I did a lot of work with landmark education as well. And I'm a strategic intervention coach. I work with Mark and Magali Pesci, and they worked a lot with Tony Robbins in the past. But their skill set is just amazing. I love working with them, and they still help me, and I consider them, mentors. And I've always, since I've been a consultant, and then as a scientist for so long, I've always accustomed to bringing in experts or consultants to put in what's missing in the area that's vital to a project we're working on. And I think it's an underutilized skill set that the majority of people out there just don't know how to access. They won't give themselves permission to ask for help, which is all hiring a consultant is, or getting a coach or bringing in an expert, right? Because you've got a complex project or situation. And so you've got to say, wow, we're good at this, but we're a little weak in this one spot. So let's bring someone in to fill in that team role. And,
Absolutely.
Our lives are like that. And So it's super fun to do that. But the whole mindset thing, and these, the paradox that's happening now with living in a quantum universe now, because we're not living in an Einsteinian universe, and most people don't even get really what's happened. I mean, Einstein knew that this was coming, but he hadn't proved it. And now a lot of the science has backed up what his philosophies were and his theories were. And it truly is this, the duality illusion is, the black or white, right or wrong, good or bad world that's segregated and separatist and has prejudice in it. And we've shown that there's this non-duality reality that's our oneness, that's really that fully integrated world, where we can all elevate that. We can go from where we are across this metaphorical bridge to really where we want to be, by creating the projects and life we really want to live, so that we're equipped now to solve these global problems that have been kicking our butt, right? And we don't have the leadership and the planet to wake up and be the types of leaders that we need to solve these global issues. So it's like we're going to do it, or no one's going to do it. And it's got to happen, from my opinion, in a grassroots kind of a situation, because it's a waste of our time and energy to complain about it and, to fight them. We can't fight them. I mean, they're multi-billion-dollar international conglomerate corporations, and they're exploiting and abusing people for financial gain instead of providing the leadership and using their resources to solve our global issues. So anyway, so it comes full circle. And then so when you head down this path and you start connecting all these dots, your spiritual answers and this universal knowledge and wisdom, we get access to it. And you hear people say downloads, but it's about awakening our remembering to this infinite source of knowledge that's out there, that when we're squelched and we're kind of in corporate America or in the trap, however we are in that trap, and once we escape it and follow these protocols, connect these dots consistently, we just get clarity. And life really does open up. It's transformative. These are amazing times, and it's super cool. I'm so glad you're doing this type of work. We have so much in common. And when I first connected with you, I was like so excited to talk with you.
Yeah, I think that our role as coaches is also to sort of like step up and be leaders as well, to really educate so many different people, because, we learn from experiences, and we've taken sort of a leap of faith within ourselves. And then if we can then sort of show that to other people, that, we can, the old saying is, you teach a man to fish, but if we go one step further and we actually teach them how to teach others to fish, and I really feel that's our role, so that we can create this immense ripple effect around the world. And, just really allow people to know that, it is about us, we're here to live a life. And I think sometimes we forget that living life is not always about this flat line. And I was watching a video, and I think it was Jay Shetty who said that, when we're living just in this flat line, it's sort of like, it's like death in a way, because life is meant to be up and down and up and down. And that's living. And the more we start to experience things, the more we start to get out there and, take on board and really open up to new opportunities, new experiences. And I think we've become so sheltered as well that, we no longer even just talk to our neighbors. We no longer want to go out and actually talk face to face to people, because we're so consumed with social media. We're so consumed with our job. And then we sort of go, I've got to go home, I've got to do this, and all of that. But just to sort of let everyone know that, just take a breath and just actually do what fills you up. And I think the more we do that, the more we're actually teaching our children, we're teaching our family that it's okay to not only just put yourself first, but just to sort of have a different sort of point of view, and that we're all uniquely different. And one of my favorite things that I learned is that you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Sure.
because when you step outside your comfort zone, you're learning so much more. And I don't know, like you just sort of start seeing the world a different way, and you experience things, you listen to what other people are saying and take that on board.
Right.
For me, I find that my role is really as being a leader, getting out there, really spreading the message and, helping and inspiring as many people as I possibly can.
Right.
And I think that's why it's great with your work that you do, that, it is this holistic approach that you're talking about. And when we come from experience, and it's not just learning from textbooks, it's real life experience. We've been in the trenches and we've gotten ourselves out of there, that, that's when we can really make such a positive impact across the world as well.
I totally agree. That's why I'm in Costa Rica now, and I'm almost out of the oil and gas sector entirely. I'm working on my last project. I'm like maybe months or a year or two at the most, but I'm like, oh, I've downsized everything. I've closed my offices, but I've just got a few responsibilities I have to continue. But I wanted to just go back. It really is. I love what you were saying about the ripples. So when you work with someone at depth over a longer period of time and they resolve their stuff and they get their hands on the new tools and they're connecting the dots successfully and they've produced results from their practical plan that were once goals, that they were trying to get to and hadn't been able to achieve. But it's now a real thing that happened in their life as a result of working with us. So now their optimal contribution is out there in the world. That's what we're here for. That's this. So it's not the flat line, and we're in this spiraling vortex. I've got this great video I got to show you one time. I'll send you an email.
Absolutely.
And when we grew up, we saw this static kind of. There's a sun and solar system and all the planets and the asteroid belt, and and they said there's movement, but it wasn't until someone made a video of it, and you could really visualize it, that we're just being pulled by the mass of the sun going tens of thousands of miles an hour, and all the planets are spiraling around the sun going like this throughout the universe. And so the perspective is, the metaphor is, that's what life is analogous to. So there's this chaos, which is the corporate trap. And once you escape it, you have your freedom to then contribute your optimal gift to humanity, which is, I think, why we're all here. And I think fundamentally that our primary education system fails the majority of the children, because it's not one size fits all. And when you're a good parent, or one has a good upbringing, and those parents spot the kid's gift and genius early on, I really do believe we're living in a time where formal education may become obsolete because of the technology. And really what has to happen is, I believe these kids' gifts need to be nurtured from the moment they're identified, because they go to school and they do all this boring stuff. And if their aptitude isn't suited to make A's and not, in that system, then they're failure or not good enough, or what's wrong with you. And so they kind of slip through the cracks. And
look, I can so relate to that. I remember my son when he was in high school, and he's just not a kid who could sit down, and do the books. But I mean, he is now a qualified diesel mechanic because he likes to do things with his hands. So when we took him out of school and put him into TAFE, all of a sudden he was excelling because he had found the right way of learning. And it's about trying to put, this square block into a round hole, and it just doesn't fit anymore. And that we need to really, have a look at different ways of learning. I know that, my corporate days, I was a learning development specialist, and we had to learn that adults learn different ways. And I just always thought, well, if adults learn different ways, children do too. So
well, yeah, not only different ways, that's totally accurate. There's multiple ways that we all learn. And sometimes it has to be a combination of a couple of ways for us to get it. But I think really what's even more important is that they are given every advantage and course of study in the area that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
It's not just the way to teach them. It's that we give them the content that's the area of their optimal aptitude, ability, and skill set, their gift, their genius, they're born with. That place where we get in the zone and time goes away and our creativity is just flowing out of us.
Absolutely.
And, that elevates our imagination. It creates a sense of high self-esteem and confidence and well-being. And everything just works. And that's where all of us will have our optimal contribution to humanity, so that we'll be capable of providing solutions for these global problems that need addressing.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it, because our human energy is the best energy.
Yeah. And I think the more, like, I mean, it's taken me, 42 years to actually find, what I'm good at and, what like is lighting me up. But, and I think it's okay that people need to realize that, we can try all different things and learn and grow and develop. And that as you then start to do that, you really then find out who you are. And I think one of the biggest things is, like, we sometimes try to follow the norm, and we need to remember that sometimes it's okay just to go down this sort of beaten pathway that hasn't been traveled before, and the little things that you find along the way is going to light you up.
Yes, I love it. It's called being accountable and responsible for generating an interpretation that forwards whatever it is you're creating.
Yeah.
And so I like to play a game, and it's called crossing the suffering index gap. So when you're stuck with an old idea or perspective or paradigm, a way of thinking that, you were just like, oh, it's the way that it is. This is the way we do it. It's that dogmatic conservative thing. And it's everywhere in our public education system and in our political system, Republican and Democrat. I mean, it's just broken. And, but the solution is when you start modeling multiple outcomes, multiple scenarios, new perspectives, new paradigms, what becomes real clear after you get past that third or fourth or fifth model, because we live in this black or white, right or wrong, good or bad, Republican, Democratic world. But when you get to that fourth, fifth, sixth solution scenario and you pick the best one, it becomes abundantly clear that there's no such thing as a block or a stop or a problem. All there are opportunities to create optimal solutions. And so once people learn to connect those dots and get their hands on those tools in a fully integrated way, a body, mind, soul way, like we were talking about earlier, that's magic. And that's kind of the end result of the work that I do. And I think it's really what all coaches do. We just have a different way of getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is that I got told that we all have the answers within ourselves. And I thought, well, if we all do, then why do we go and, pay for all these coaches as such? Why do we pay for all these mentors? But it's because sometimes we need to be able to unlock it. We need to know what questions to ask ourselves to when we're at these sort of crossroads in life, to sort of know, okay, well, if I ask this question, do I trust my intuition? Do I, go with somebody else, or, which pathway to do? But asking the questions and then to sort of nut it out further and further to be able to get to the right answer. And like you said, there's no right or wrong, because we can try it. And if it doesn't work, I don't see it as failure as such. It's just a learning lesson. If you can learn from that, that is the biggest thing that you could ever do in life, and not go, right, oh, poor me, poor me. We all have the ability to play the victim in life. But if we can then turn that and, sort of learn from it and grow from it, we can go, okay, the lesson is even more intense. Well.
Right. We're lifelong learners, and we're always creating the next best iteration of ourselves if we're paying attention and we apply the lessons we learn into our life. Because if you don't practice them, they go away. Yes. So without accountability, possibilities disappear. So you have these great ideas and you hear people talk and then they take no action and it's gone. And then one day someone else does it and it becomes this huge corporation.
Yeah.
And, but they had the idea, they had the opportunity, but they just didn't. And that, that's part of the problem as well. So that's why a coach is so important, because it gives people a structure and a process to follow that's duplicatable. And, you can't make someone accept a gift. The only people that benefit from coaching is someone who recognizes they need help. They need an expert, they need a consultant, they need a coach, they need someone to help them with this place. And you've got to be able to distinguish that you've got a problem, and you got to own it, and you got to know, wow, I can't sort this one out on my own. I need to go get some help.
Yeah, that's right. And willing to actually do the work. I think that's one of the biggest things is actually, you can pay all this money to have a coach, but if you're not willing to actually do the work and apply it, and, that is when, that's when the magic really happens, because, the coaches, I always see my role as being a coach is to actually get in the trenches with them, to really help them, support them and guide them. It's not about me telling them how to do it. It's about just giving, suggestions, and it's up to them to sort of decide which option that they want to take. And, when you see someone really light up and really grow from that, you're just like going, okay, I'm really happy right now.
Right. Yeah. There's a real, there's a patience. Yeah. You got to meet your client where they are. Yeah. And you've got to have a conversation with them so they have their own discovery process. You can't feed them the answers.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But it's a skill set that we learn to read where they are and know when to feed them the piece they need at that point to then have the realization that's going to forward them and have the breakthrough. And that's, the fun thing about tools and having a process, because it is incremental. And then once they get their hands on the bigger picture, then it's like magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say would be, you had a really great plan, to leave corporate America, which is quite different to me. Like I was sort of, circumstances happened that I needed to leave. So what would you say is like the one biggest thing, for somebody to sort of plan out to really, not that you can sort of say, well, this is what's always going to happen, but what would be that one sort of golden nugget that you would give people to do if they are actually thinking of leaving the corporate world?
Well, I think you really do have to give yourself permission to. It's a mindset thing. Mindset is at the base, but your physical well-being is just as important, because if you don't manage that, it's hard to give yourself permission to. It's kind of additive. And because otherwise, if you're not taking care of your body, and then you're not taking care of your mind as well, because you can't optimize the system and you can't connect spiritually with the higher awakening and the remembering of this universal knowledge and wisdom. If the body is not in a pretty good place, then the mind suffers, and then your spiritual connection doesn't get you where you want. So if you're doing something piecemeal and you're doing good work in certain areas, it produces that result, but it doesn't really get you the life you really want to live. You've got to find a fully integrated approach, and it all begins with becoming willing to, like you just said, investing in yourself. Because the best client is someone knows they need help and they're willing to pay for their continued education, which is what coaching is. Yes. And they're investing in themselves. So they've got something at stake. They're going to show up because they paid money for it. And, people who they don't produce results because they're not seriously involved. Yeah. And so that's what's so important about, I think, committing and diving in, and giving yourself permission to. And hiring an expert or a consultant or a coach is a huge part of that.
Yeah, I really like that, that if you can start by making sure your body is well, then work on the mindset, and then you incorporate the two together, and then allow everything else to sort of evolve, because you can do that while you're still in the corporate role. So you can start, do it. It doesn't have to be that you're just going to leave and to, thinking, oh my goodness, like there's this weight of everything coming on top of me. But I think sometimes it is a slow journey, and, it's taken me 4 years, to get to where I am right now. So it's not just an overnight process. And I want people to really understand that we're all a work in progress. You know, I'm perfectly flawed. I removed the word perfection out of my vocabulary because it is simply unattainable. So that
yeah, we're perfectly imperfect.
Absolutely, yes. So, you know, and I think that the more that we have these sort of really inspired conversations to, you know, just to let people know and to, you know, share different stories with people, because it's going to resonate with different people and really create this beautiful ripple effect around the world to let people know that, you know, there's people who get you, they understand where you're at, and we're all here to support each other as well, and to sort of reach out when you need to be, you know, supported, and not just see that as a sign of weakness or anything like that. It is about you actually taking control of your life and going, you know what, no more. I am just as important as everybody else around me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love that. And to summarize just what the question you're asking. So there you are in corporate America. It's not working. Maybe you have a conflict in the relationship, which needs addressing. Maybe quitting isn't the right thing. Maybe you want to be transferred. Maybe you're in the wrong city. Or, you know, you always want to explore and see, well, maybe if you are in the right place, we need to find a way to elevate you from where you are. But once you decide and know that, no, you're in the wrong place, it's time to exit as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
You know, and in a professional way. And then, but you got to evaluate all those relationships and the location, and your stress level. I mean, because if your health is starting to go down, it's a huge warning sign. And to not pay attention to that is, I mean, potentially deadly. You could have a heart attack. I mean, this type of stress that we're talking about is the leading cause of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and the onset of premature dementia or Alzheimer's. I mean, so it's, and that affects everyone, not just you, but your family and the rest of your life. And if you don't, you know, we don't control how long we live, but we have everything to say about the quality of life we have while we're here. And we're designed, we have these perfect vessels for having these elevated minds, and that we're vessels for spirit. So we're like these infinite spiritual beings in this finite human experience and body. And so that's the paradox. And you got to honor that if you want to have an optimal system and experience, I believe.
Absolutely. Look, I could actually sit and talk to you pretty much all day.
I like it. Yeah, it's been so great. I love it. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, look, my pleasure. It's just been such a wonderful conversation, and I know that I'll get you back on and we can really pick up and, you know, take this to another level as well, and, you know, really help spread the message and to be able to really, you know, inspire and empower, like, as you said, like so many people across the world, that, you know, it doesn't matter whether, you know, you're over there and I'm here in Australia, you know, the situation is similar all around the world. So I just really want people to know that, you know, the people who have done it, who have come out from the other side, and how you can learn from them as well. So thank you so much, you know, for your time today. I really do appreciate it. And I know that we will be talking a lot over the next couple of months, no doubt.
I love it. I've really enjoyed it. And thank you. It's been my pleasure. And I appreciate being invited, and all the best to you. And we'll speak soon.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, David. And thank you everyone for joining in and watching the Corporate Escapists TV show. And I am your host and producer, Christine Innes. I'm a transition and lifestyle coach. And David, thank you so much. I will be putting all of David's details underneath the video, so you can go ahead and follow him and check out his retreat. It just looks divine. So I think it's going to be on my wish list to go there very, very soon. So thank you so much, David.
Yeah, my pleasure. And please come to Costa Rica for an immersion week. I look forward to seeing you there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm there. So
all right.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.